4 to 8% naman among adolescents. And notably, it is 2 to 3 times more likely in females. Next slide, please. So, in terms of suicide, the highest rate is actually among 15 to 24-year-olds here in the Philippines. 3 of the 5 top causes of death for all adolescents aged 10 to 19 years old in 2015 is actually also suicide. So, I like to say, you can't die of depression, you die of suicide. Okay? So, according to the National Poison Management and Control Center in PGH, 46% of the total suicide cases recorded since 2010, so over the past 8 years, are sa youth. Okay? 30% of those are young adults, 20 to 35 years old, and 16% are teens, so 10 to 19 years old. Next slide, please. So, what's the difference between sadness versus depression? Kasi, di ba, pwede ka namang sad because it's a perfectly normal emotion. Hindi bawal maging sad, pero pag depressed ka, iba na. Okay, so how can you tell? Again, sadness is normal. Depression is a mental health condition. It's a medical condition. Okay? Sadness is usually triggered by a specific event or situation. Paano? Bagsak sa test, binasted, hindi ka niligawan, ang gusto pala yung kaibigan mo. Okay? While in depression, sometimes, most of the time, there's a trigger you can name. But, over a long period of time, kahit wala nang nangyayari dun sa bata, dun sa tao, pwede pa rin siyang sad. Okay? So, over a longer period of time, they are sad and they're not able to explain to you why. That can be depression already. Okay? Sadness will improve in the short term. Give it time, yung mga ganun, that's sadness. Depression takes a lot longer to improve. It's entirely possible to get over a depressive episode without treatment, pero ang tagal at maghihirap yung anak nyo for longer kung sakali. Next slide, please. So, how does someone become depressed exactly? Okay? It's not magic. It's not because somebody decides they're sad and then tells you they're depressed. It's not that way. Nobody decides to be depressed. Nobody wants to be sad. Who wants to be sad? Nobody, diba? So actually, there are lots of causes that come together so that one becomes depressed. Biologically, genetic factors, kung may blood relative ang anak nyo, either side of the family, let's blame the other side, na may depression, may previous psych consult, may previous mental illness, ang namamana ng anak nyo doon is the chance to be depressed, but not necessarily the depression itself. Okay? It's like cancer, it's like diabetes, namamana mo yung chance. It's everything else around you that can push if you're going to get the condition or not. Okay? What else? Abnormal neurotransmitter levels in the brain are also possible. It's decreased levels of the neurotransmitter serotonin, norepinephrine, and dopamine. This isn't med school, I'm not going to go into too much detail. Basta there's a chemical imbalance in your brain. It can be the neurotransmitters, it can be cortisol, the stress hormone, na imbalance nga sa brain, kaya nagiging depressed. Okay, so in effect, it's abnormal firing of the brain. So, nobody decided it. It's just that that's how the brain fires for that person. Kaya siya depressed. Next slide, please. It's also possible to have depressive symptoms due to medical conditions such as thyroid disease or even substance use, certain drugs, certain medicines, and even alcohol. Okay, so tama talaga na kailangan iwasan ng mga bisyo. Next slide, please. So, besides biological, there are also psychosocial causes of depression. So, it can be stressful life events, family problems, problems with peers, loss of somebody you love, a loss of status, kasi nasira reputasyon mo in school, a loss of your good academic standing, yung nabagsak na exam, napahiya ka, a loss of face. So again, goes back to a loss of status. Ang daming pwedeng reasons, okay? Poor self-esteem is also notable, as well as negative views of the self, negative view of others, and negative view of the future, in the sense na pakiramdam nila wala silang maaasahan pa. There's nothing to look forward to, there's nothing to live for. So I'll talk more about that later. Next slide, please. So what are the symptoms of depression? So actually, unlike other medical conditions, there is no lab exam for depression. If there was, my life would be easier. Okay? But since there's none, there's no substitute for a full clinical interview. Okay? So, paano? You notice your child is depressed, mukha siya malungkot. Kita mo, hindi ganyan itsura niya dati. Irritable siya. It's more common in children and children and adolescents. Hindi sila malungkot pero galit sila, ang sungit nila. Okay? Then decreased pleasure in activities. Kung dati ang hilig mag-video games, ang hilig mag-basketball or soccer, tapos biglang ayaw na, hindi na nag-enjoy. Warning sign na yun for us. Weight changes, biglang pumayat or biglang tumaba. Or if your child is young, hindi siya tumatangkad, hindi siya tumataba. Yung failure to make the expected weight gains, height gains, yung growth nila. Then sleep changes, either biglang tulog ng tulog or hindi na makatulog. Then also there's changes in speed of thoughts or physical movements. Change in speed, pwedeng mas restless siya, mas balisa, or pwede rin ang bagal niya. Bagal niya kumilos, ang bagal niya magsalita, ang bagal niya mag-isip. Next slide, please. So what else? Loss of energy, laging pagod, laging para siyang upos na kandila. Then feelings of guilt or worthlessness. Then there's difficulty in thinking, concentrating, or even in decision making. Then there are thoughts of death or suicidality. So suicidality, gusto ko magpakamatay. Thoughts of death, gusto kong mamatay. So may mga ganun silang thoughts. So all of those can roll up into one big ball of changes in functionality. Sometimes your depressed child, hindi mo na siya ma-recognize kasi alam mong hindi siya ganun dati. Kilala mo anak mo or kilala mo yung student mo, alam mong hindi ganyan itsura niya, na there's a really obvious difference. Okay? But, how can you tell if your child is depressed? It actually varies for each individual. Sometimes, the symptoms appear gradually, kaya hindi nyo talaga mapapansin. And sometimes it's easy to miss because, of course, ang natural reaction is to fight. The kid is going to fight kahit nalulungkot siya. Habang kaya pa niya, magpupush pa siya Basically, they are strong until they're not. So sometimes the symptoms come gradually, sometimes magsislip up siya, dun mo na mapapansin, or sometimes significant na talaga yung impairment or deterioration. Bumabagsak na, gets into fights in school, gets into fights with you at home, ayaw nang sumama sa family dinner. Okay, so again, there's visible sadness or irritability. Younger children can generally report their feelings naman Younger children and adolescents. But they usually express it as anger. It's hard for them sometimes to express the sadness. Okay? They can also express feeling empty. I have a patient, she describes it as, I feel meh. Okay? So if you hear the meh, explore nyo na yun. Okay? You also notice crying episodes, outbursts of temper, or even tantrums. So again, kung hindi ganyan yung anak nyo dati, tapos gumaganyan na ngayon, pansinin nyo na. Check nyo na kung may nangyayari sa kanya. Next slide, please. So again, makakakita ka ng decline in school performance, decline in peer relationships, yung nababalitaan mo na nag-friendship over na sila ng friends niya, or ba't biglang hindi na dumadaan si ganito sa bahay? Nag-away kami, mommy. Di na kami friends, daddy. Decline in family relationships, kayo na ang hindi na friends. Kayo na ang nag-aaway. Okay? Then favorite activities are done less and less. And actually, for some kids, they have hallucinations. As in voices, as in may kumakausap sa kanila na hindi yung internal monologue natin. As in, kinakausap sila, tapos sinasabihan sila ng kung ano-ano, minsan inuutusan sila. Okay? Hallucinations can also take the form of visual. May nakikita sila na hindi nyo nakikita. In terms of depression, mas common actually is the auditory. Tapos sometimes, they feed into the child's negative thoughts. Ang pangit mo, ang bobo mo, wala kang kwenta, magpakamatay ka na. Those are some of the things that those voices can tell the child. So you'll also notice conduct problems, so defiance, misbehavior, hindi na sumusunod sa'yo, hindi na sumusunod sa teacher. Start wondering. Okay, for younger children, they experience separation anxiety from you, from attachment figures, persistently poor self-esteem. Yun, they feel ugly, they feel like they're useless. There are also physical complaints, so headache, stomach aches, socially withdrawn, hindi na nakikihalubilo sa other children, and even sad appearance. So actually, when we diagnose depression, we also interview the loved ones if we can, na if they notice that the person is visibly sad. Kahit hindi nila amining sad sila, but as parents, as teachers, nakikita niya, lungkot ng batang to, hindi siya ganyan dati. Counted na yun. Okay, next slide. In terms of adolescents naman, you will notice that they're restless, they're irritable, they're more aggressive. There's a reluctance to cooperate in family activities. Every Sunday, you go to this mall because you do this. Ayaw nila. Ayaw na nila bigla. Hindi nila feel. Okay? Withdrawal from social activities, withdrawal from peers, less attention to personal appearance. Minsan, hindi na naliligo, hindi na nagsusuklay. Okay, then, there is increased sensitivity to rejection by peers. Yung hindi lang nag-reply sa message kasi tulog, pero feeling na nung anak nyo na rejected na siya. Pwede yun. May tendency kasi to think negatively of everything around him or her already. Okay? It can also be associated with use of drugs or alcohol. Next slide, please. So, how do you talk to your child? Depressed na nga eh. Okay, so ask questions. Don't nag, but just ask questions. Encourage them to talk about what's going on with them, their thoughts and their feelings. Okay? Listen without expressing judgment. Kahit feeling nyo, iniinsulto na kayo, the thing is with adolescents, sometimes they don't understand when they're being disrespectful. Tas, you don't understand kasi ikaw nagturo sa kanila na maging magalang. Yun, sometimes they're not aware. So can you imagine how much more they're not aware of if they're depressed? Okay, so listen without expressing judgment. Kalma lang. Kahit naghihimutok na yung damdamin mo kasi sabi niya gusto niya magpakamatay, kalma lang. There can only be one crisis at a time in this situation and it better not be yours. Hindi ko yung sick eh. Okay? Then, don't try to convince them that they should be happy. Yun ang pinaka-ex. Anak, you have so much to live for. Anak, di ba binilhan kita ng ganito? Anak, di ba lumabas tayo? Ba't hindi ka masaya? They're already wondering the same thing. And they hate themselves for being sad. And they hate themselves for being such a burden. But they're sad. So if they open up to you, take it. Regalo nila yun. Adolescents don't easily open up, at least not all of them. So once it is given to you, kahit ang sakit-sakit pakinggan, at least alam mo. Okay? Then express empathy for your child and let them know that you care and you want to help. Next slide. So how can you tell if somebody is contemplating suicide? Okay. Nagsasabi siya, gusto niya mamatay. Okay? Feelings of being trapped, feeling niya worthless siya, and actual verbalizing suicidal ideation. So again, I'll make the distinction. Thoughts of death, gusto mamatay. Suicidal ideations, may balak ng gumawa ng paraan para mamatay. Okay? Both are equally important in diagnosing depression, and both should be given due attention. Okay? What else? You also notice that they engage in self-harm, yung mga nagka-cut. Okay? I think this is familiar to all of us. Tapos, besides kasi sa forearms, the smarter ones, they also cut in their upper arms, they cut in their stomach, they cut in their thighs. Bakit? Mas madaling matago. Okay? So, those are other places to check. Malabo nga lang considering adolescent yung gusto mo i-check, but yun, those are, at least we know, basically. What else? Acting recklessly in risky activities, yung mga 16-year-olds na may student's permit na. Drag racing, driving badly, driving too fast, pwede yun. Giving away valued possessions or asking people to take responsibility for loved ones. Yung naghahabilin na. Kasi they're preparing to go. Meron rin yung contacting people to say goodbye, make amends, or ask for forgiveness. So again, preparing to go. Next slide, please. So if you suspect that your child or someone important to you is contemplating suicide, don't be afraid to ask. Why? Because when you ask, you're not exactly giving them the idea. They already have the idea. They might not know who to talk to about it. So sana i-bring up nyo na. Kasi, di ba, what is our usual response? Pag sabihan tayong gusto kong mamatay or gusto kong magpakamatay, ay wag yan, bawal yan, bad yan, sala yan sa Diyos. Okay, sige, bigay natin, those are all true, but that's not going to help the person. Kasi kung ginanon mo siya, in effect, binara mo na siya. Sinabi mo ng bawal, sinabi mo ng, I don't like it, don't talk to me about it. Okay? So basically, you ask further. Have you decided how you do it? Have you decided when? Have you started preparing? Okay? Paano ba? Gusto ko magpakamatay? Sige. Gusto kong mamatay. Okay, nag-isip mo ba nagagawa ka ng paraan para gawin yon? Oo. O sige, paano? Magbabaril ako. Sige, may access ka ba sa baril? Oo, sa bahay. Yung ganon, you have to know all of those steps kasi that information will be useful to you to ensure somebody's safety. Okay? So all thoughts of suicide should be taken seriously. And it's often a plea for help. It's their way of saying, I have a problem, please look at me. Then, also, it's a means to escape from a distressing problem. Bullying in school, a difficult teacher, a difficult parent, a difficult friend, difficult life. Pwede yun. Next slide, please. So again, kaya mo siya mini-mini interview kasi you have to ensure the person's safety. So as much as possible, wag niyong iwan or mag-tag team kayo ng somebody reliable also. Check on them regularly. Then, remove access to the means of suicide and tell the person's family, especially for minors. Okay? It can also happen kasi that your child is told by another child na gusto niya mag-suicide. It will help, if your child tells you, it will help that you contact the parent already. Yun, there's no negotiation for that kasi, well, it's the child's life at stake. Okay? So, adolescents are very particular about their privacy, di ba? Bakit ka nagsasabi ng secret? Wala akong pakialam kung mamamatay ka na, isusumbong kita. Repeatedly until you're safe. Okay? Then also, engage the person's social network for help. Does it help the person na kasama niya friends niya? Does it help the person na pumapasok pa siya sa school? Does it help na magstay home siya at magpahinga? It depends per person. Next slide, please. So there's also such a thing as no suicide contracts. It sounds so formal, but basically, matinong usapan lang. Don't do anything to hurt yourself until X time. Okay? So it should be simple and cover a length of time that the person can commit to. So I had a patient before, ang balak niya, Saturday daw siya magsusuicide. So nag-no suicide contract kami, just live through Saturday, usap tayo ulit ng Sunday. Get? So small goals lang. Small achievable goals na magko-commit siya. Of course, by Sunday, pina-admit ko na siya. Okay? Then also, this should contain safety contacts kung sino tatawagan niya pag kailangan niya ng tulong or walang-wala na siya. And an agreement not to use alcohol or drugs. Kasi di ba, those substances tend to erode one's self-control. So, it increases the chances na gagawa siya eh. Okay? However, we have to remember na kahit na anong gawin natin, kung determined yung person, magta-try at magta-try yun. Okay? It's actually possible to drown yourself in a glass of water with sufficient effort. Okay? So, what does this mean? We will do our best, but it's not entirely in our control kung ano mangyayari. Okay? Next slide, please. So, how else? So, let's say, umamin na nga sa'yo, nagbabantay ka na, alimin natin siya. Okay? Dapat may ginagawa habang binabantayan mo siya para hindi na niya isipin. You can't sit there and talk about suicide the whole time when you actually want them to not hurt themselves, to not kill themselves. So yun, let the person choose anong gusto niyang gawin, especially something they like, and something that has previously helped them or something they have previously enjoyed. Okay? So maintain contact with the person, help them to take steps to ensure that they are receiving professional help. Next slide, please. So how do you know kung kailan kailangan nyo nang dalhin sa psych? When you notice any symptoms, pag lumalala na talaga, when the child's functioning is deteriorating, yun nga, hindi na siya okay sa school, hindi na siya okay sa friends, hindi na siya okay sa bahay. Then, when the child requests for consult, okay, I have a lot of adolescents and young people, either they come to see me na patago, kasi ayaw silang suportahan ng parents nila, or sometimes I see them at a reduced rate kasi they're paying for it out of their allowance. Kasi ganun sila kaayaw suportahan ng parents. So sometimes they can't even afford the medications. Okay, so isipin mo, ganun kalala ang suffering at ganun kalala ang lack of support. So please don't do that to your own children. Then when the child is suicidal, yun consult agad. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. Or when you are worried. Okay, kasi basically, kung normal naman yung anak nyo, magsasabi naman yung psych. Kung normal, edi happy tayong lahat. Kung hindi, then at least may tulong na sa bata. Kasi actually, psychiatrists, hindi lang kami doktor ng mentally ill. Okay? Doktor rin kami ng mga may pinagdadaanan. So actually, may patient ako ngayon na kakabreak lang nila ng boyfriend niya. Yun ang pinag-uusapan namin. Wala siyang gamot. Okay? Then also, consult should not be treated as punishment for bad behavior. Okay? We're actually your child's teammates. You're actually your child's teammate, di ba? Even if he doesn't think so sometimes. Okay? Next slide, please. So, let's say, after much thought and discussion with your spouse, with your parents, with your siblings, everybody, you decide to take the plunge and magpapakonsult na tayo sa psych. Okay, so what's important to know is that there are only 500 plus psychiatrists in the whole Philippines. Okay? So for the whole population of the Philippines, there is one psychiatrist for every 220,000 people. Okay? Now, among those 500 plus psychiatrists, there are less than 100 child psychiatrists. Okay? So disclosure, I am an adult psychiatrist. But all of us, we take a rotation where we treat child patients. Okay? So, and also when we take our psychiatry board exams, we also cover the topic of child psychiatry. Dahil konti kami, kahit yung adult psychiatrists, nagtitreat talaga ng child patients. Okay? Also, a psych consult takes longer than other medical specialties. Kung 15 minutes kayo sa cardiologist nyo, sa amin, baka maka 45 minutes pa. Okay? So, please expect to spend a long time in the office. Okay? What else? So, 15 minutes with your cardiologist is X amount, right? So 45 minutes with your psychiatrist is X times 3 amount, 3 times. Gets? Okay. So this is in terms of the time spent with your child, the time spent with you. And kasi dahil nga walang labs ang psych, there's no other way around a psych interview. We have to ask the questions, we have to draw the child out, and sometimes we have to draw the parent out. Kasi syempre, it's hard for some people to bare their souls within the first 15 minutes. Okay? So also, interviews and check-ups will be done separately. So minsan yung child nyo lang, minsan kayo lang, tas minsan together. Okay? Then also, psychiatric treatment for depression takes months at least. Okay? I opened a new clinic last February. All my depressed adolescents from February, they're still with me now. Okay? We're working on it. And we're getting there. Okay? Pero hindi siya kaagad. If we could do or give something faster, we would. But at present, it's a process. And we will accompany your child and you the whole way. Next slide, please. So how can depressed children be helped? So make them part of the treatment decision-making, especially for adolescents. We kind of need them on board. Diba? And also, especially for adolescents, it's the time kasi when they're trying to learn how to be adults already. Diba? Old enough to speak for themselves, but not old enough to live alone, to earn money. Yung ganon. So, to help them transition, gagawin natin silang important part ng treatment team. Is this doctor okay with you? Is this location of clinic okay with you? Kasama sila. It also makes it easier for you to get their cooperation. Okay? Then, so again, we help them by making them part of treatment decision-making, taking them for consult. Sometimes they'll need psychotherapy kasabay ng medications, or sometimes they'll need just psychotherapy. Depends. So, support them if medications are prescribed, such as antidepressants or antipsychotics kung nag-hallucinate nga sila. Next slide, please. So, as parents and teachers, please remember that you are an important part of the treatment team. Okay? You are part of the consult. And the interview process is not fault-finding for parents. Okay? The psychiatrist is actually your teammate. The psychiatrist is actually your child's teammate. Though sometimes, you may not always feel that way. Okay? And while it's important to respect your adolescent child's privacy, all psychiatrists will tell you, oras na gusto nito magpakamatay, isusumbong ko siya sa'yo. Okay? So at least that part, you can trust us for it. Okay? Then also, it's important to be patient with your child. Healing takes time. Do not pressure them to improve. I had a mother yesterday, she actually told her child na, anak, try mo naman maging normal. So, that's not very helpful. Okay, so syempre, pinakita ko sa kanya ang better way of helping the child. Okay? Then what else? Relapses are possible. There are some very lucky people na one episode of depression gagamutin at least 6 months. Tapos, aabot sa point na babawasan yung gamot hanggang wala na. And then they graduate from clinical care, they graduate from follow-ups. Then they never get another episode again. May mga taong ganon. May mga tao naman, natatapos yung treatment, pero babalik. Let's say kung may significant stressor ulit. Okay? Gagamutin nila sila ulit. It's a process. It can be part of the illness course. There are others naman, umokay sila, tapos pag nagbabawas ka na ng gamot, babalik yung symptoms. So kung ganon, baka mahirap nang i-stop yung meds, baka i-maintain na lang para hindi na siya magiging malungkot. So tuloy-tuloy yung consults for that. Okay? But again, it's nobody's fault. I think it's also the impulse of parents kasi na anong ginawa ko, saan ako nagkulang. Kasalanan ko ba to? Am I a horrible parent? So, It's very common, but the thing is, when your child is already in crisis, it's not the time for blaming anymore. It's the time for solutions. And also, one of the theories of childhood is that there's such a thing as a fit with your child. So even if you're the perfect parent, pero hindi kayo fit ng anak mo, or perfect child, pero hindi kayo fit ng parent mo, may chance talaga na magkaka-problems. This doesn't happen for everyone, ha? Pero di ba, it's very common na magkakaroon ng hindi pagkakaintindihan. It also goes up to magde-depression. But again, hindi nyo to ginusto for your child, hindi nyo to kasalanan. You did your best. Okay? So, yun, it's not time for the blame game, it's time for the solution game. Okay? Next slide, please. So, ayon kay Albus Dumbledore, of course, it's happening inside your head, Harry. But why on earth should that mean it's not real? Thank you very much.